voting on whether or not a number of motions here should be adopted. One of them is a motion by the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture, and it regards the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property. The debate on this motion has been concluded, and what remains is the question to be put so that the members can decide whether the House adopts the motion, which is in form of a report by the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture. Another debate which was concluded was on the motion regarding the loans contracted by the national government between May 2022 and April 2023. This motion is by the Public Debt and Privatization Committee. It came to the House in form of a report. The debate on that report was concluded, and so the Speaker will put the question and the members will decide on whether to adopt the report or not. A number of statements which will be responded to this afternoon. One by the Honourable Member David Kiplagat, the member for Soy constituency. The statement regards the impending sale of Uchumi Langata Hyper, and it was subjected to the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. The Member of Parliament, who is also the chairperson of that committee, CPA Kuria Kimani, will respond to the Honourable Member of Soy constituency, Honourable David Kiplagat. Another statement which will be responded to is by Honourable Irene Mayaka, the nominated Member of Parliament, and it's on regulation of cryptocurrencies. Honourable Member CPA Kuria Kimani will also respond to that. Another statement which will be responded to is by Honourable Irene Mayaka on the clearance by the Kenya Revenue Authority at points of entry. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honourable Moses Wetangula, is now walking into the chambers to oversee the business of the National Assembly this afternoon. A number of businesses have been lined up. It includes the Committee of the Whole House, which will be considering a number of bills, 3 of them to be exact, and a number of bills have also been lined up for debate for the second reading. I will now hand you over for this live broadcast of the National Assembly business.
Waheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tunakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kufikia mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako siendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Sergeants, you may ring the quorum bell.
Good afternoon. If you're just joining us, the business of the National Assembly is yet to begin. It will hopefully begin shortly. As we wait for the House to quorate, we'll continue taking a look at the order of business this afternoon. And among the businesses that the House will be engaging in is the debate on a number of motions, one by the chairperson, EAPAFSN caucus. The quorum has been achieved.
Honorable members, order, we have quorum now to transact business.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, order. Honorable members, I have a communication on the issues you raised on dress code. I will issue that communication just before you go to the committee of the whole at order number 12. I also, when we get to order number 12, I've received, and this is for the majority leader, I've received a request by Senior Counsel Otienda Molo to raise some preliminary constitutional issues in regard to order number 12, Roman 3. So when we get to order number 12, before we go into the committee of the whole, I'll hear Otienda Molo, I'll hear the majority leader and whoever else will want to speak to the issue, then give you the communication on dress code, then we go to committee. Thank you. Next.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority leader.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 28th November 2023. Reports of the Auditor General Financial Statements for the year ended 30th June 2021 and 30th June 2022 and the certificates therein in respect of 1. Kisayani Secondary School, Vulueni Secondary School, Nthangu Mixed Day and Boarding Secondary School, Muhu Secondary School, Kinyu Boys High School, Kamondo Secondary School, Father Kevin Kelly High School, St. Francis of Assisi Kwatombe Secondary School, and St. Francis Girls High School, Mangu. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay.
Next. On energy. Kawaya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 28 November 2023. Reports of the Departmental Committee on Energy on 1. The Budget Implementation Monitoring for the financial year 2022-2023 for the following votes. A, vote 1152, State Department for Energy, and B, vote 1193, State Department for Petroleum. 2, study visit to the energy actors in South Africa from 3rd to 8th October 2023. 3, study visit to the energy actors in Ghana from 3rd to 9th October 2023. And 4, delegation to the East Africa Petroleum Conference and Exhibition 2023 held in Kampala, Uganda, 9th to 11th May 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Vice Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 28th November 2023. report of the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture in its consideration of National Rotary Bill, National Assembly Bill number 69 of 2023. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I thought you have two. The National Lottery Bill and Gambling Control Bill.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to request that you allow me to table it later in the day.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next order. Before we go to order number 6, members, allow me to acknowledge and recognize a delegation from Nandi County Assembly. Members, I wish to introduce to you a delegation of 8 staff from the County Assembly of Nandi, seated in the Speaker's Gallery. The delegation is led by Mr. Philemon Mayo, the Director, Human Resources, and is on the benchmarking visit to the National Assembly's Directorate of Hansard and Audio Services to learn innovative practices and methods deployed by the National Assembly in producing timely, accurate, and credible Hansard reports of plenary and committee proceedings. Members, on your own behalf and on my behalf, I welcome them and wish them fruitful exchange of ideas and knowledge. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Energy, Vincent Musyoka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Energy on its consideration of the budget implementation monitoring for the financial year 2022-2023 for the following votes, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 28th November 2023. 1, vote 1152, State Department for Energy, and 2, vote 1193, State Department for Petroleum. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Nyeri County, the Honorable Rehab Mukami. Rehab Mukami, Majority Leader, where is your member? Okay, go to the next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
We have some response to statements. Kuria Kimani, is he here? Honorable Kuria Kimani was to respond to a statement sought by David Kiplagat. Is David here? David is not here. Kuria is not here. Irene Mayaka? And neither those who sought statements nor the person to give the statement are in the house. Maklap, what is it?
On the issue of question asked by Mheshimiwa David Kiblagat of Soy,
He didn't ask a question. He sought a statement.
A statement, yes. We asked the minister to give us a feedback on Tuesday next week.
So you are not ready?
Yes, we shall be ready by Tuesday.
So deferred to Tuesday next week. Now that you have arrogated yourself the power to answer on behalf of your chairman, what about the ones of Irene Mayaka?
In fact, the three, the one that is asked by Irene Mayaka.
I see your chairman dashing in. He probably has a different brief.
It's the same views.
Kuria Kimani, we have just put off the statement sought by David Kiplagat. He's not here, neither were you, and we are told you are not ready for today. You also have two statements to respond to Irene Mayaka. She's not here. I know the statements are the property of the House, but are you ready with them?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm ready for the report for the statement by CPA Mayaka on taxes at the airport.
Pardon?
I am ready with the statement sought by CPA Mayaka on harassment of passengers at the airport. I'm trying to catch my breath.
She asked two.
Yes.
Are you ready with both?
I am ready with one.
One on cryptocurrencies.
The one on cryptocurrencies, the Central Bank of Kenya and Treasury had requested for more time, so we'll be ready with that for next week.
So go ahead and give the one on Revenue Authority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Irene Mayaka MP on the 8th of November 2023 requested a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, on the directive seeking to tax travelers or passengers arriving in the country from international destinations to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport with items worth USD 500 and above. In particular, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member wanted to know the following. One, what was the legal basis and framework for customs and duties directive, particularly the USD 500 on its or its equivalent in Kenya shillings value cap for any used and personal items? And two, what steps have been taken to ensure that the customs and duties directive is enforced within the boundaries of existing laws and regulations, and what legal safeguards are in place to prevent arbitrary actions by authorities? Honorable Speaker, I wish to respond as follows. From the onset, Honorable Speaker, I wish to say that besides revenue collection, Kenya Revenue Authority is mandated to facilitate trade and secure the borders. This is done in line with relevant tax regulations, written laws, and specified provisions of the written laws. Honorable Speaker, customs management in Kenya, being a member state of East African Community, is guided by the East African Community Customs Management Act of 2004. And this, Honorable Speaker, the ECMA is a regional law applicable to all East African partner states. The Kenya Revenue Authority is an implementing body of the Act and facilitates the movement of people and goods in line with the various provisions of the East African Community Customs Management Act, ECMA of 2004. Honorable Speaker, the matter in question relates to customs management, particularly as far as passengers arriving in the country and concession entitlement available to them. The fifth schedule of the East African Community Customs Management Act makes provisions for the categorization of passengers arriving in the country and concessions and entitlement available to them. Section 44, 45, and 46 of East African Customs Management Act of 2004 provide how passenger clearance processes as a member state's port of entry shall be conducted and the obligations of the passengers of each category. Section 44, I read verbatim, Honorable Speaker, provides as follows. 44.1, a person shall not disembark from an aircraft or vessel except at a place appointed in accordance with Section 11 of this Act. And 2, the following persons on landing at any point or place from an aircraft or vessel which has arrived from or called at a foreign port shall, subject to Section 46, proceed forthwith to the baggage room or other place set aside for the examination of baggage, and they remain until they receive the permission of the proper officer to leave that room or other place. It further provides A, that any person who is disembarking at the port or place, or any person, including any person who is returning ashore, who has any uncustoms goods in his possession, whether upon his person or in his baggage, the crew of an aircraft or vessel who are leaving that aircraft or vessel either temporarily or for other reason, and wish to remove their baggage or part thereof from the aircraft or vessel. D, any person who is temporarily leaving that aircraft or vessel and wished to remove from his baggage or any part thereof. E, any person who may be required by proper officer to do so. And then Section 3, the Commissioner may require the owner or agent of an aircraft or vessel conveying passengers to provide advanced passenger information prior to the arrival of such aircraft or vessel. And 4, any person who contravenes this section commits an offense. Honorable Speaker, The import of these provisions gives the category of persons who are required to report to customs as follows. Category A person who is disembarking on that port or place. B, any person who is returning ashore, who has any uncustomed goods in his possession, whether upon his person or in his baggage. C, the crew of an aircraft or vessel who are leaving that aircraft or vessel either temporarily or for any other reason and wish to remove the baggage or part thereof from the aircraft or vessel. D, any person who is temporarily leaving that aircraft or vessel and wish to remove therefrom his baggage or part thereof. And E, any other person who may be required by a proper officer to do so. Honorable Speaker, for ease of implementation, passengers are divided as provided in the table below. Category A, Honorable Speaker, provides for diplomatic and first arrivals to Kenya who intend to change their residence to Kenya for various reasons, such as military and aid agencies, among others. Category B, these are visitors to Kenya on temporary visits, not extending 3 months. Category C, these are returning residents and passengers not included in the category A and B. Honorable Speaker, these categories of persons are given their allowable concessions under provisions of Part B of the 5th Schedule to the ICMA Act of 2004, Item 5, subparagraph 1 to 9. For purposes of payment of customs duty, passengers are exempt on goods up to the value of USD 500 when imported by the traveler in his or her accompanied baggage or upon his or her person and declared to the customs officer. In addition to the above, the passengers are allowed to import duty-free the following with limited quantities of the following items. 1, spirits or liquor, a limit of 1 liter. Wine, a limit of 2 liters. Perfume, a limit of half a liter. Cigars and cigarettes, a limit of 250 grams in total. Honorable Speaker, only passengers who have attained the age of 18 are eligible to import the listed items, and taxes will be payable for quantities in excess of the above. In case a passenger has customs goods that don't meet the criteria above, the tax payable are determined based on the tariff classification, the actual price paid for the goods. A passenger upon arrival to Kenya should declare the following items: items purchased and carried with them upon return to Kenya, items bought in duty-free shops or in the ship or on the plane, repairs or alterations on 80 items you took abroad and then brought back if the repairs or alterations were performed free of charge, items brought home for someone else including gifts, items intended for sale or use or trade including business merchandise taken out of Kenya on your trip, currency and monetary instruments above $10,000 or foreign equivalent, items that are brought in as temporary imports, goods for the exhibition which are to be returned in an unaltered state, and filming equipment which is allowed in the country on a temporary basis. Prohibited items as per the Act include false money, counterfeit money, pornographic material and media, narcotic drugs, used tires for light commercial vehicles, among others. Restricted items, Honorable Speaker, one is required to have a permit for restricted items, and these restricted items include arms, ammunitions, historical artifacts, and medicaments for sale, among others. Section 45 of ICMA Act provides for a dual channel clearance system, mainly a green channel for passengers with nothing to declare, and a red channel for passengers carrying dutiable or restricted goods. Section 45(1) specifically provides that there shall be established at every place of arrival and within the baggage room at every major port a dual channel system, which will consist of a green channel for passengers who have nothing to declare or with baggage consisting of only goods within the prescribed passenger allowance as provided for in Part B of the 5th Schedule of this Act, and 2, a red channel for passengers carrying dutiable or restricted goods, provided that crew members of vessels or aircraft shall use the red channel. Honorable Speaker, this provision establishes the channels that passenger categories should follow when passing through customs. Green channel is for passengers with nothing to declare or with baggage consisting on only goods within the prescribed passenger allowance as provided for in Part B of the 5th Schedule of this Act. B, red channel for passengers carrying dutiable or restricted goods. provided that crew members of vessel or carefrees shall use the red channel. C, a person with uncustomed goods in his or her possession who should then take to the appointed place for examination of baggage. And D, a person shall not remove any baggage or goods from the baggage room without the authorization of the proper officer of customs. Honorable Speaker, to enhance the efficiency of passenger clearance at the terminals, KRA has stationed non-intrusive scanners across all ports of entry to aid verification of goods to ensure that goods imported into the country are correctly declared, not only for taxation purposes, but also for the safety of Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, where imported goods are subject to customs duty, passengers are required to declare the actual price of the items, as the valuation of the tax to be paid is based on the actual price paid for the imported goods. Passengers have a right to query the assessed customs duties and may seek an explanation from the customs officer. Honorable Speaker, customs duties are paid at appointed banks located within the terminals or through a mobile banking platform after the generation of the electronic payment receipt. Customs officer at the airport will generate the payment slip, which is available at the bank for ease of payment. In case, Honorable Speaker, a passenger is not to make the payment on the spot for dutiable goods or obtain the relevant authorization for restricted items, the same goods are deposited in the customs warehouse to allow the passengers to take necessary steps to comply with the legal requirements, failing which the goods shall be disposed of in the manner prescribed under ECMA Act of 2004. Honorable Speaker, through its surveillance at the border points, Kenya Revenue Authority has reduced the smuggling of restricted and prohibited goods, including counterfeit, substandard goods, narcotic drugs, among others. Illicit trade is known to deprive government the so much needed revenue. Illegal trade also kills local industries and jeopardizes customers' health and safety. Honorable Speaker, to enhance with these provisions of the Act, KRA implements the following measures. 1, non-intrusive scanning of goods at the passenger terminals. 2, awareness and sensitization of tourist passengers and general public through diaspora webinars, frequently asked questions through their website, media tours, and other publicity material. Stakeholder engagement with specific agencies and interest groups to enhance awareness of such requirements. For example, the requirement by Kenya Film Classification Board and the Kenya Film Commission. Deploying customer satisfaction surveys to ensure customer experience, and institutionalizing collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign and Diaspora Affairs to reach Kenyans living abroad and tourists intending to travel back into the country. Honorable Speaker, consequently, the committee will be bringing a motion to this House seeking to cause the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, to request and to start the amendment of the East African Customs Management Act of 2004 in respect to the USD 500 value cap to bring it to the current economic reality. The committee has implored on the Kenya Revenue Authority to undertake and refrain their staff at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and other ports of entry on customer filling and deploy use of non-intrusive technology for scanning for efficiency of customs management. Honorable Speaker, it was worth noting that Kenya Revenue Authority has issued several public notices to sensitize the members of the public on the passenger entailment and concession, hence reducing the complaints at the port of entries. In summary, Honorable Speaker, we are saying that we engage the relevant authorities. It's an issue of law, but that law is outdated. It's an ECMA Act of 2004. The limit of $500 is too little. It needs to be changed to come in reality with the current situation. And the Kenya Revenue Authority staff at the airport should refrain themselves from harassing passengers, should refrain themselves in seeking to collect some very little revenues at the expense of harassing our men and women in diaspora who are coming back home, and tourists who, consequently, the taxes and the revenues would collect by us being a marketable destination globally would be more than the 8 million shillings they are collecting per month on this particular tax. And since we implored on KRA on this, feedback from customers arriving in JKIA, they're talking about an improved customer experience, and that harassment of goods, Honorable Speaker, have actually and substantially reduced. We have also implored on them to, now that they are implementing this act, to have the red and the green channel, Chairman, so that it's clear to passengers. With that, I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Order, honorable members, your conversations are above average today. Can you reduce your conversations? Wanjala, I'm telling the House to reduce and you are increasing your volume. Order. Honorable members, Honorable Irene Mayaka, I've just received a letter saying she's away on duty and had nominated Honorable Zamzam Mohammed to seek clarification on the matter. I don't see Zamzam Mohammed here in the House. They will find that statement on Hansard. So Kimani, the other two statements, you'll give them next Tuesday? Will you have them ready this week or next Tuesday? Give him the mic.
So, Honorable Speaker, for the other two statements, the Cabinet Secretary has been out of the country on official duties, so we started that engagement today. We'll have the other two statements ready next week.
Next Tuesday, that's all right. Next order. Majority Leader, do you have something to say on?
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I have a statement that I wish to read. Honorable Speaker, allow me first to thank you for leading the Kenyan delegation to the 16th meeting of the Bureau of the East African Community Speakers and the other that was held on 16 November in Juba, 2023, in the Republic of Southern Sudan. Honorable Speaker, it is not also lost on us that it was resolved in that meeting that the Republic of Kenya assumes the chairmanship of the Bureau next year after the current chair, the United Republic of Tanzania. It is also noted that the Republic of Kenya was also accorded the opportunity to host next year's edition of the East African Community Interparliamentary Games. We congratulate you, Honorable Speaker, for these twin achievements. That, Honorable Speaker, you are now going to be the next chairperson of the Bureau. Honorable Speaker, the use of the word chairperson in the Speaker was intentional, since we do not know in the other countries whether it is male or female chairpersons, but we can confidently say that the next chairperson will be a chairman, none other than Honorable Dr. Moses Masika Wetangula. Honorable Speaker, allow me also to, as I congratulate you, to inform the region that they will enjoy your chairmanship as a chairman of the Bureau, and they will have to share, like the Kenyan people share, in your wisdom as you lead the Bureau from next year, Honorable Speaker. Also, Honorable Speaker, congratulate you on leading in lobbying for the Republic of Kenya, and in a way the Kenyan Parliament to be the hosts of next year's East African Interparliamentary Games. And Honorable Speaker, I know members are gearing for this year's games in Kigali, Rwanda, and probably, Honorable Speaker, we will have opportunity, myself and your deputy, the Honorable Gladys Bosch-Sholei, since for the last 10 years we have never had an opportunity to patronize these games. At least we are certain next year, the games being hosted in Nairobi, we shall patronize those games, and we shall be playing in the same team with my sister Gladys Bosch-Sholei. Honorable Speaker, as a chairperson of the Parliamentary Service Commission, you are currently overseeing the construction of the ultra-modern Center for Parliamentary Studies, CPST, in Karen. And it is with this background again that we know that the Bureau of Speakers also resolved in their meeting that the Republic of Kenya will host the East African Parliamentary Institute. This will serve to enhance the recognition of CPST as a center of excellence within the region in matters parliamentary training, and indeed offer a great opportunity not just to Kenyans, including our county assemblies, but also to our regional, national, and other regional assemblies. Honorable Speaker, allow me lastly to take note of the resolution made relating to the annual East African Interparliamentary Games. First, it was resolved that the Games commence on the 7th of December 2023, which is the day we are scheduled to commence our last recess at the end of this session. I therefore want to urge honorable members to put in extra effort so that we are able to process all our critical pending business before this day in order to allow for ease of participation in the Games without prejudicing parliamentary business. Honorable Speaker, on that note, I want to plead with members and remind them that we have Thursday morning sittings this week and I believe next week, so that we are able to conclude all our pending business. And I want to urge members to be patient and stay within the principles of Parliament for us to be able to conclude business, so that those who will be participating in the Games will be able to leave on the 7th. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, I note that the Bureau resolved that in this year's Games, participating teams will be composed wholly of members of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, allow me to repeat that for the benefit of those who are consulting, that this year the Bureau has resolved that participating teams will be composed wholly of members of Parliament. Given that this is a departure, Honorable Speaker, from the past, where staff had been allowed limited participation in the Games, it is a wake-up call for our members to take the Games seriously in terms of preparation and participation. On a light note, Honorable Speaker, I challenge our departmental committee on sports, and I know the chair is here, to strategically plan around this decision so that we do not end up participating in Games in which we become a walloping bag for our neighbors. Honorable Speaker, that is especially for those like myself and Honorable Sholei and Honorable Junet Mohammed, who have never participated in these Games, to make sure we don't hear that now these Games are strictly for members of Parliament, and you end up on a football pitch and you know the Honorable Junet may not be able to finish the first 45 minutes. Honorable Speaker, I know I can do at least 45 minutes, but not the 90. But I am also certain the Honorable Junet Mohammed cannot do beyond 45 minutes. Honorable Speaker, I know that the staff have been allowed limited participation in the Games in athletics only. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, on a light note, I use the example of myself and Honorable Junet on football. This should not discourage our staff, as the Joint Planning Committee has been empowered to review the participation of staff in future Games. But it's also worth noting, Honorable Speaker, that this year, the participation of staff, therefore, will be limited. Therefore, we should plan in future to restore greater staff participation in more disciplines so as to enhance the greater goal of the Games, which is to foster regional integration in all spheres. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and again, congratulations on your nomination as the next chairperson of the Bureau of Speakers, and on lobbying for our country not only to host the Games next year, but also to host the East African Parliamentary Institute. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I wish, Honorable Speaker, to lay before the House the report of that meeting in Juba, which you participated and which came up with those very commendable recommendations for our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member for Nyando. Give him the mic.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, and on the same breath, allow me to join my brother, Honorable Ichungwa, in congratulating you in ascending to the position of Vice Chair of the Bureau as you await to become, Chair. I take back that. As Chair of the East Africa Bureau. Honorable Speaker, I happened to have joined you last year in Juba. And in the opening ceremony, Honorable Speaker, you gave a very prolific and scintillating speech that caught everybody off guard. And indeed, full of wisdom, East Africa in general will benefit quite immensely from your knowledge, your know-how, and your experience in matters parliament. And most importantly, Honorable Speaker, as we did take last year as our theme for the East African Games, that the main idea was to strengthen, to widen, to deepen, and to tighten our collaboration within the East African states, Honorable Speaker. You have what it takes to ensure that all these qualities, all these positive adjectives will be added on to the East African Legislative Assembly together with the East African Parliament's Honorable Speaker. As a participant in athletics, Honorable Speaker, we have had a lot of trainings lately, even though our numbers are shrinking of members who participate in this. And Honorable Speaker, I want to bring to your attention that members of staff are very, very dedicated in this endeavor. And therefore, it pains that we may have their numbers thinned as they leave for Rwanda, Honorable Speaker. I would want to urge you to relook into this issue of members of staff, Honorable Speaker, that those who have taken a lot of their time sacrificing their sleep to be part of the entourage that will be in Rwanda participating in this event, Honorable Speaker. And once again, I congratulate you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, member for Manyata. Take 2 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate you. And we are very happy that East Africa will experience your leadership as the chair. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that we as members are encouraged to participate in sports. And Honorable Speaker, many of members who came in last year, they have developed a lot of tummies as they continue enjoying the privileges of being members of parliament. And I would hope the chair for sports should be able to organize things that while we are preparing for East Africa Games, we also prepare internally to have our own games and have our own ways of relaxing and ensuring that we enjoy these sporting activities, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I am concerned with the choice of not having staff members participating in these games. And Honorable Speaker, one of the most important things is that these staffs have always dedicated themselves to sporting activities, and they have been able to encourage even members to really hit the gym, go to Nyayo Stadium in the morning. And Honorable Speaker, I believe we should either have their category or at least we should be able to accommodate them, Honorable Speaker. Myself, I'm proud to be the silver medalist of the 400 meters, Honorable Speaker, of the games we participated in Juba. This time I'm going for gold, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chematia? 2 minutes. After you, Nyikal, then the chairman of sports will close that.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa nafasi hiyo ambayo umenipa. Mwanzo ningependa kukupa kongole kwa kuchaguliwa kama mwenyekiti wa wanaspika katika jumuiya. Kwa kweli ambao walikuwa wanafanya uchaguzi walielewa weledi wako katika hali yako ya uongozi. Pia ningachukua fursa hii kukuhimiza kuwa katika uongozi wako wananchi wa jumuiya watafurahia na kuona tofauti katika hali yako ya uongozi. Pia Bwana Spika, ningependa kuchukua fursa na kueleza mimi kama mojawapo ambao nilikuwa mjumbe. Jumuiya yetu ya Afrika Mashariki inakuwa kwa ukubwa sana. Kwa sasa tuko na nchi 7 ambazo zinaweza kukabiliana kwa mambo vyovyote katika uchumi, rasilimali za nchi, na Kenya ikiwa mstari wa mbele. Najua uongozi wako itapeana mwelekezo thabiti. Mimi nikiwa hapa kiongozi, ni mmoja wa wale ambao tutashiriki katika michezo ambayo inakuja huko Kigali, na mimi ni mchezaji mmoja wa kutegemewa sana, na nitakuwa pale ili nilete medali katika nchi hii ya Kenya. Na shukrani sana Bwana Spika.
Asante Mama Chematia, tutakutegemea. Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki sasa ina nchi 8, sio 7 vile umesema. Yes, Nyekal. Give to Dr. Nyekal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. May I also take this opportunity to congratulate you for being elected chair of the Bureau. Mr. Speaker, I know you have the capacity, and it has always been my wish that we should make the community what it should be and what it has been. Many of us grew up knowing that the East African community was actually one unit. We had one currency, we had one railways and harbors, we had one airways, we had one university, we had one road services, and we knew people were moving across without any barriers. And that's where we should. And I think, Mr. Speaker, that is where you should take it. When we go there to the East African community, we should not go as individual countries trying to fight each other. We should actually go there as creating one unit that works together for all of us. So, Mr. Speaker, I know you are capable of doing that, and that would be a great thing for this area. And now that it has expanded, it will be a huge market with one infrastructure. So, Speaker, it will be extending from Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean across Zaire. Second, Mr. Speaker, I also feel that excluding staff from participating in the games is actually discriminatory. Staff are part and parcel of the legislative bodies, and excluding them, anything that brings a barrier between the staff and the legislators, I think, should be discouraged. And I know you can also get that reconsidered. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I think we should also extend the games. Honorable, the leader of the majority was saying there are some people who can't play some games. There are some new games we should bring that can bring people in, particularly people of elderly stature. Games like Mbao, I don't know what it is in English, you know better English than me, or Ajua, so that when we go there, everybody has a contribution to make. With that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Kawaya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me also join the rest of the honorable members in congratulating you, and also state that, Mr. Speaker, you've grown a special liking alongside the East Africa corridors. We had our meeting, our East Africa JPC, a couple of weeks ago, and I remember every other country was referencing your powerful speech during the last games in Juba last year. Mr. Speaker, there is benefits to participating in games, and as a member of parliament and also the chair of the Bunge Sports, I am a beneficiary of these particular benefits in terms of health benefits and also winning the special gold medals. For the 7th year consecutive, I'm the gold medalist for 100 meters and 200 meters, Usain Bolt is only 1.5 seconds faster than me. And there are those who think my body size is by witchcraft. That is not the case. It is simply by participating in these games, and it has health benefits. Mr. Speaker, just a few comments. One,
You have 1 minute to go.
One is that I would want to invite members, starting with Kimani Ichung'wah and the rest, to start preparing as we host our games next year. Number two, Mr. Speaker, on the matter of staff participation in these games. Mr. Speaker, I sit in the East Africa JPC, and the idea around the staff participation was basically not to have staff not included in these games, but to separate participation of members from the staff, so that as honorable members do their games, then we can have the staff participate also parallel to honorable members. I think there's a miscommunication that the idea is to have staff not participating in these games. But Honorable Speaker, I also want to request this Honorable House, through your chairmanship. We have a lot of issues around budget. Mr. Speaker, it will be completely unfair. Right now, we want to thank the Speaker's Bureau because we've been allowed participation of 45 members under athletics, which we believe are going to be spread across the different disciplines. But Honorable Speaker, this is only so because we have budget limitations. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I want to request you, because we've always had insufficient budget, in the next supplementary budget, consider reviewing or supporting us to review the budget allocation for sports, because it is barely enough. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, we've always had this scenario where the speakers have ruled that games participation is going to be 12 days. And Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, because of budget constraints, Team Kenya, which is supposed to be a super economy, we go to participate in these games and we end up leaving before the games are concluded. We've even had scenarios where the games are still continuing.
Wind up.
The games are still continuing, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude. And at the same time, awards are being given, while at the same time still games are still continuing, which means that we need ample time to participate in these games so that we can get the maximum out of it. And this can only happen if we get good or proper budget allocation. I seek the support of this House so that in future, starting the next supplementary budget, we review our sports budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, 1970 UNESCO Convention on the Means of Prohibiting and Preventing the Illicit Import, Export, and Transfer of Ownership of Cultural Property. Question to be put.
Thank you. Order, honorable members. Members on their feet, take your seats. Take your seats. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 8, which is that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture on its consideration of the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the Means of Prohibition and Preventing the Illicit Import, Export, and Transfer of Ownership of Cultural Property, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 12th October 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves the ratification of the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property. As members of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next.
Order number 9, motion, loans contracted by the national government between May 2022 and April 2023. Question to be put.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the loans contracted by the national government between May 2022 and April 2023, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 28 September 2023. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, before we go to order number 10 and 11, I will now allow Otienda Molo, member for Rarieda, to raise the issue he wanted to raise on the conflict of interest bill. Honorable Otienda, I'll give you a maximum of 10 minutes and give the majority leader equal time to respond. And any member who may want to join in, I'll not allow extensive debate on this, will be given 3 minutes each. I want this particular matter to take no more than the next 30 minutes. Give the mic to Honorable Otienda.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'll actually take a shorter time.
Wonderful.
Honorable Speaker, I did write to your good office on 21st of November, raising 15 different points on why, in my opinion, the conflict of interest bill stands as unconstitutional in its present form. Honorable Speaker, I will highlight just 3 because I took the liberty to copy the letter to the minority leader and the majority leader, and I'm sure they are seized of it. Honorable Speaker, let me also point out that I'm aware that the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee only finished its deliberations this afternoon on the bill, and they have produced an addendum report, part of which actually agreed with some of the points we've raised. Honorable Speaker, in paragraph 3, we raised the issue in terms of definition. This bill brings a definition of public officer that, in my view, would conflict with the definition in the Constitution, and strangely, even seeks to include volunteers, consultants, and persons who render any form of services to be public officers. The implication of that is immense. In paragraph 4, Honorable Speaker, in direct contradiction of the separation of powers and the Powers and Privileges Act and our own standing orders that has made this House self-regulating, in its wisdom, this House passed an Act of Parliament, the Powers and Privileges Act. It then also passed the standing orders and gave power to the Powers and Privileges Committee to deal with the issues in terms of conflict of interest. This bill seeks to yank that from Parliament, to yank it and assign it to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, so that the Commission would then end up regulating what even we as members of Parliament do in this Parliament. That is wrong. Every branch must be self-regulating, just the way the judiciary is and ought to be self-regulating by the Judicial Service Commission. We are self-regulating through yourself, Mr. Speaker, as the chair of the Parliamentary Service Commission, and then the committee. Mr. Speaker, paragraph 5 then does something very strange. Other than trying to regulate all public officers and state officers, this bill then singles out in clause 11 only members of Parliament. It does not single out anyone else. It does not single out cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, judges, only members of Parliament, almost as if this bill is tailored to focus on members of Parliament in a very unfair way. Mr. Speaker, in clause 11.2, which is in paragraph 8 of my letter, it does something very strange. Other than requiring members of parliament to declare whenever there's any issue of conflict of interest, it then says that wherever such a declaration is made, no member of parliament can participate in any debate or discussion where they would benefit. The implication of that, Mr. Speaker, is that there would be no one to legislate on any issues affecting members of parliament because we'd all be in conflict of interest. There would be no one, and we would not even be able to deliberate on the NGAF, the NGCDF bill as we are deliberating today. There would be no one to discuss the question of salaries or pensions or car grants because we would all be declared to have been in conflict under clause 11.2 and therefore unable to discuss anything around that. Mr. Speaker, in paragraph 10, we raise the issue in terms of declaration of income, assets, and liabilities. And this bill not only requires a public officer, like a member of parliament, to declare their income, asset, and liability, but then it even extends to their spouse and dependent children, so that the Honorable Wanjala, who I think has just walked out, and who by his own admission is a serious polygamist, would then be required to ask his wives for full disclosure of what they owe and own, and to include in that declaration. This is a breach of Article 31 of the Constitution, and especially because once you've declared, it then becomes information held by the state, which anyone can access. The Honorable Speaker, I have raised 15 different points. I do not need to read them again because you are well seized of them. I urge that it be considered by yourself, Honorable Speaker, in addition to the report of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, so that we can seriously reconsider this bill, because this bill has the potential of harming ourselves. Self-preservation has always been the most basic human instinct. Let us not be a house that is given to self-infliction of pain. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Otiende Amolo. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me first thank Senior Counsel Otiende Amolo for those issues and indeed confirm that the Honorable Otiende Amolo did write a letter, very detailed letter with all those 13 or 14 issues, and he did copy my office, and I remember, Honorable Speaker, discussing the same with yourself and the chair of the JLAC committee, who unfortunately is not here, but the vice chair, Honorable Mutusa, is here. And we have further discussed all the issues that were raised by the Honorable Otiende in his letter with the chair and the vice chair of the JLAC committee. And I believe, Honorable Speaker, given an opportunity, since the chair is away, the vice chair should be able to appraise us on where fast they are in terms of looking at those issues among us, many other issues that came up during public participation, and which, as has been indicated by Senior Counsel, already some of those issues are being addressed by the JLAC committee. Honorable Speaker, it's also worth mentioning to the Honorable Otiende Amolo that in the House Business Committee this morning, we did agree to stand down that conflict of interest bill from this afternoon sitting for Committee of the Whole. First, to allow the JLAC committee to complete the work that they were already doing, to maybe later tomorrow or the day after, whenever time will allow, and when the House Business Committee will be able to schedule business. But, Honorable Speaker, just to note that as much as I may agree with the Honorable Otiende on a number of things, touching on, especially on definitions of who a relative is, who a public officer is, because that which is explicitly provided for in the Constitution, we cannot then seek to redefine it in statute, because the Constitution is the supreme law of the country, and any other law that then we enact that is in conflict with the Constitution, Honorable Speaker, when I was studying commercial law in my CPA, we were told that it becomes ultra vires, and therefore any such definition that goes against what is provided for in the Constitution then will be ultra vires the Constitution and become null and void. However, Honorable Speaker, the definitions like a relative, the Constitution does not define who your relative is. But then it begs a moral question as to how far do you define who your relative is as a public officer? Your mother-in-law, your sister-in-law, some that you may not even know. If they are doing business, Honorable Speaker, and they don't eat in your house, they don't depend on your pay as a public officer, they have no direct relation with you, then can you then say that there is a conflict of interest between that distant relative and yourself as a public officer? Therefore, those are issues, Honorable Speaker, that are already before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, of which I believe the Honorable Otiende Amolo is a member. I was hoping he would indicate where they are as a committee, but I am informed he was not in the meeting today, this morning, and therefore I want to believe that JLAC will be able to appraise us on the addendum they are doing that is touching on major amendments that will touch on some of these provisions that the Honorable Otiende has pointed to. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, what is this bill seeking to do? Honorable Speaker, if you read our Constitution, Chapter 6 on leadership and integrity, this bill is breathing life to the chapter on leadership and integrity, and more so on matters touching on integrity. And therefore, I would tend to disagree with the senior counsel on issues that touch on integrity, that they would not sit well in this bill, because they do sit well when we talk about issues to do with corruption and conflicts of interest. Honorable Speaker, Article 75 of the Constitution, 75(1)(a). Honorable Speaker, if I care to read, that a state officer shall, and it makes it mandatory, shall behave, whether in public and official life, in private life, or in association with other persons, in a manner that avoids a conflict of interest, any conflict between personal interests and public or official duties. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the long objective of this bill is to actualize that particular provision of Article 75(1)(a), that you'll be avoiding conflict of interest between personal interest and public interest or official duties. B, compromising any public or official interest in favor of a personal interest or demeaning the holder of that office, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, there are many other issues, without even belaboring the point that Honorable Otiende also said, we do not need to go through all the 15 or 13 items he listed, but there are some that I would agree with and many others that I would strongly disagree with, because they intend to actualize and breathe life to Article 75(1)(a)(b) of our Constitution. And if we are truly intent, Honorable Speaker, on slaying the monster that we all talk about, slaying the monster and the dragon of corruption, which spreads far and wide, Honorable Speaker, and I've heard the issues that are being raised on self-preservation, even as we seek to do what we call self-preservation, Honorable Speaker, we must be careful that we do not self-preserve in a way that we entrench conflict of interest in public offices, Honorable Speaker. Because we must lead from the front as the lawmakers in ensuring that there is absolutely no conflict of interest by public officers. And public officers, I want to agree with the Honorable Otiende Amolo in that respect, that a public officer does not necessarily mean an elective office or people holding elective offices. It is not just members of parliament and members of county assemblies. We have governors. We have the executive, right from the president to the ministers and the principal secretaries who are in appointive offices. All those, Honorable Speaker, we must hold them to account using this bill and ensure that even as we seek to self-preserve, we also enact laws that will hold everybody, even members of parliament, Honorable Speaker, and members of county assemblies, and even governors and presidents and deputy presidents who are elective, to account and to ensure that there is absolutely no conflict of interest in the way they conduct public office and there is a clear demarcation between your public affairs and your private business interests. Because, Honorable Speaker, if we are left in a situation where there is a blurred distinction between what is private and what is public, Honorable Speaker, the era that we have been speaking of state capture will never come to an end. This is the opportunity we have as a House, and the country and history will judge us based on what we do with this bill. If we speak so much about the fight against corruption, and every time there is mention of a scandal here and there, the political class are usually the first to speak against corruption. Let us not just speak about against corruption and speak about corruption. Let us act. Let us enact laws that will ensure that there is no corruption, there is no conflict of interest, and in line with what we provided for when we elected to have this constitution as the supreme law of our country, that we actualize the provisions of Article 6, and specifically that 75, 1A and B that I have read. With that, Honorable Speaker, I do want to submit, Honorable Speaker, that we hold our horses as we await the Jailer Committee to table the addendum, and we be able to see what is it that they have proposed for amendments. And that is not to say, Honorable Speaker, that what JLAC will have proposed as amendments, if they do not carry an amendment that I intend to move, nothing, Honorable Speaker, stops any member of this House from moving an amendment to rectify what they think should be rectified in the bill. And if it makes sense, Honorable Speaker, without diluting the objectives of the bill, we shall support. But we must also do so in a cautious manner. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg that we allow the Jailer Committee to finish their work and appraise the House accordingly. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Ocheng. Yes, I'll come to you. I've given to David Ocheng.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to add my voice on this particular matter, and I agree with Honorable Tiende that there are issues that
Give to David Ocheng the mic.
there are issues you need to address going forward, Mr. Speaker. I was so worried when I saw the bill in the draft order paper this morning, and I want to thank you and thank the House Bills Committee for seeing the sense in putting the bill.
What's happening to the mic?
But, Mr. Speaker, the biggest issue...
Order, honorable members. I want to hear order.
Mr. Speaker, the biggest issue...
Order, Irene Kasalo and your team.
Mr. Speaker, the reason I believe this bill...
Order. I'm being called upon to make a ruling on a bill before you. Give me an opportunity to hear.
Mr. Speaker, the reason I believe this bill is very urgent is that sometimes we think about things in a very pedantic way, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this country today is in this place it's in because we have allowed every government official to do business at every corner. And like I said last week, Mr. Speaker, the reason we're even having issues of liquidity is that we are allowing everybody, including members of parliament, to do business, but because I don't know where's fear of the EACC. No, Mr. Speaker, I said, I want to repeat here, that since this government came to power, you will not get any safe in the shops here in the country. People who intend to loot have bought all the safes in the shops. I believe in us still because we cannot be doing business, allowing government officials to do business, convert money to dollars and keep. So we can't have, the reason our dollar is going up, our Kenyan is going up, is because we have allowed government officials to do business, keep this money at home, no money circulating. Mr. Speaker, I want to repeat what I said last week. Even us in this parliament, our roads, our CDFs, you want to decide who does them for us. And I don't think it's something wrong to discipline this parliament. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the weakest link in corruption in this country is this parliament. And so I don't think we should fear. If a law is going to decide how we do business, how we don't do business as parliamentarians, I will support the Speaker. And so I would request that this will be the last time you are going to give this opportunity for members to bring their amendments and ensure that the law that is made finally is not a law where we are going to have room for circumvention to now enable people still go around the law and make this work. Mr. Speaker, I also hope that the amendments going to bring will ensure that EACC is not looking for other powers. EACC is always looking under its back. Who is going to make this call? The same as VCI. We should strengthen these institutions, allow them to work without intimidation, without trying to cajole them, to ensure that, Mr. Speaker, their own corruption is what will make this country work. Thank you and I support.
Yes, Jared. Give the mic to Jared Okello.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I also had an opportunity to look at the issues raised, which are quite fundamental and grave, by Honorable Otiende Amolo, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is true that all professions, and in this House, we all belong to various professions, Honorable Speaker. Each and everyone has its own self-regulating body. And Honorable Speaker, you talk to lawyers, they have LSK. You talk to journalists, they have the Media Council of Kenya. You talk to doctors, they have their own. And Honorable Speaker, in the wisdom of the drafters of our Constitution, we came up with Privileges Committee in this House to help us self-regulate, Honorable Speaker. Looking at this bill, Honorable Speaker, it gives more powers to EACC to reel its ugly head on the affairs of the members of this House, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it gags members of this House. It makes us cede powers that we have as members of Parliament to EACC, Honorable Speaker. Those who sit in the county as governors will tell you how they have to contend with the presence of EACC in their offices, Honorable Speaker, without recourse, without any reason, but they are permanently seated in those offices, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill is meant to give more powers to EACC to superintend this House, and I do not know whether we will again tinker with the EACC Act in order to give them more powers, because they cannot operate on a vacuum as regards this House, Honorable Speaker. These members, as I said, have their own professions, and they are not going to kill their professions at the altar of sitting in this House, Honorable Speaker, and that is exactly what this bill is trying to prescribe, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I think, in the wisdom of the leadership, they have given it back to JLAC. JLAC will talk about amendments, but why amend something that is tragically wrong? Let us kill it and we start from the scratch, Honorable Speaker, so that we can have something that is reflective of the wishes of members of this House. We have ceded more powers to the executive unknowingly, and when you are fencing your home, know that you are fencing yourself within it, and you will have to contend with the consequences. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Mboko Melemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And thank you for Honorable Otiende Amolo for raising this matter. But above all, let me thank you, Honorable Speaker, that you did this midday today, at least push this bill ahead. Honorable Speaker, I'll talk about this issue from the position of the independence of Parliament. Independence of Parliament, also called parliamentary supremacy, is a doctrine that rides across many jurisdictions, and I think Kenya is one of them. Both the UK has this doctrine of supremacy of Parliament and many other jurisdictions, and Kenya is part of this. In supremacy of Parliament, this is such that Parliament should not be controlled by any other institution, and that allows Parliament to legislate and make laws freely without fear. So, what I fear out of some of the issues raised by Otiende Amolo, which I've seen, are that, for instance, on the issue of debating on an issue that is conflicting members of Parliament,
That will completely gag the House, Honorable Speaker. And the Parliament will not be seized of its power to legislate without fear. And therefore, there are issues in this particular bill which must be handled very carefully, even as the committee concludes its work, so that the parliamentary supremacy as a doctrine is retained, is not lost. Otherwise, if we lose it, then we shall vulgarize the House, and the House shall not carry out its mandate as indicated. Two, and lastly, there's the issue of isolating Parliament and everything being about the members of Parliament. I think the bill should be cross-cutting so that it includes everybody and every public officer and not narrowed to Parliament alone. But above all, Honorable Speaker, supremacy of Parliament must be retained, and that is why no Parliament can actually commit a future Parliament. Thank you.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order. Take your seats. Take your seats. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable Otienda Molo, member for Arieda, wrote to the Speaker 2 letters on this bill. The first one, he was proposing that when the bill comes to Committee of the Whole, he'll delete every paragraph, including the title and the memorandum of objects, as being unconstitutional. I think he reflected on the first letter and wrote a second letter citing several provisions that he felt, in his judgment, were not only unreasonable, but unconstitutional. I shared the letter with the Majority Leader and the Chair of JLAC, and my direction was that some of the issues he raised were not idle. They had some sense. And since the Speaker does not participate in debate, I directed the Majority Leader to pass on the letter and all the myriad of issues raised by Honorable Otienda Molo, some with merit, to the JLAC committee to consider the matter. The matter is now before the JLAC committee. I remember my good old professor of law, Aaron Ringera, used to tell us in class that if you want to judge a good law, imagine that law in the hands of your worst enemy. If you feel safe with it, then it's a good law. And I think that is the premise and philosophy that Otienda Molo is prosecuting. The matter is before JLAC. I direct that when we reach Order 12, Roman 3, the Conflict of Interest Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2023, will be stepped down so that we get to know what JLAC is doing in response to what you wrote to them. In any event, you are also a member of that committee. You can prosecute some of those issues before the committee. In the event the report and the addendum thereto comes to the House, and some of the issues you feel very strongly about are not addressed, then I'll give you an opportunity to revisit, and thereafter I'll give a reasoned direction on the matter. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Farah, on the same matter?
Mr. Speaker,
Give
on the
Honorable
same
Farah.
one, yes. On the same one, yes. Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of the JLAC. Otienda Molo is one of the most brilliant legal minds we have in this country. And as far as the proceedings and the debates within JLAC is concerned, he is missing in action. He is missing in action. I want him to come and participate fully in JLAC so that we are able to deal with all the issues he has raised. He was not there. I'm a member. And yeah, he was there once, yes. And the minority whip. And I agree with all that he has raised. By the way, I want to tell you that. I have my serious issues to the extent which, at the committee level itself, I said I want to have the dissenting, position on mine. Which means I'm on a point of order. I'm on a point of order, yes. The other one is Kajwang. Equally an excellent, legal mind. Please come and help us prosecute the things that you're talking about. We're in agreement with them, but we want us to pick up these things also at the committee level. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't want to open debate on this. Honorable members, what is out of order, Kajwang?
Mr. Speaker, the speaker who has just gone before you is casting aspersion on members. Yeah, because I'm a veteran and ranking member of that committee. He is saying that Otienda Molo, who just yesterday, he and me alone with a few other members were very seriously, and my friend, Honorable Adan, he was not there. First of all, he has just come in chamber right now. He does not know even what we are discussing. Then he stands up and says very senior members are missing in action. I think he's casting aspersion and he needs to withdraw those kind of, yeah.
Order. Yes, Junet. What is it?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'm also a member of the JLAC committee. So, Speaker, I wanted to bring to your attention also, because, the matter we are dealing with is conflict of interest. And, we must start it from the word go to deal with the conflict of interest even before the bill is enacted. So, Speaker, the venue also you need to change, because in his own wisdom, the chairman put the venue of the report writing at Western Hotel. That already is a conflict of interest itself. Let us go to another hotel, Mr. Speaker, because the president is going to assent to that bill, and it's already conflict, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're trying to do.
You're out of order. Yes, member for yes, majority leader. Chebalungu, hold your horses.
No, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just mentioned the Honorable Murugara, who is the chair of JLAC, was not in the House. And to hear one of his members, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, who never attends committee meetings, from records, claim that he did not attend a meeting because the chair scheduled the meeting at Western Hotel, I think is a height of hypocrisy, Honorable Speaker, because the Honorable Junet, being an old member of this House, also knows the chairs of committees do not decide on the venues of such meetings. That is the office of the clerk and the Parliamentary Service Commission that procures hotels where to schedule meetings, and you can hold a meeting even under a tree. If the Honorable Junet Mohammed didn't want to go to Weston together with the others, but Honorable Speaker, also to note that I have severally bought Honorable Junet Mohammed a cup of tea at the Weston Hotel. So I don't know what he's saying that he cannot go to a committee meeting at Western Hotel. Just to encourage all these members, as Honorable Speaker Farah is saying, please, especially for those of us that are seasoned and veteran members like TJ Kajwang, Senior Counsel Otiende, Whip Junet, please patronize this committee meeting so that members, even the younger members, get to learn from you. And not give such flimsy excuses as the Honorable Junet was giving.
Chebalungu, member for Chepalungu. I've given the floor to member for the Chepalungu.
of APNEC. Them are also members of JLAC in the conversation.
On the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 30 of 2023, the results are as follows. Ayes 30, nays 0, abstention 0. So the ayes have it.
The Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill 2023, second reading, a bill for an act of Parliament to authorize the issue of a sum of money out of the Equalization Fund and its application towards the service of the year ending 30th June 2024 to appropriate that sum for certain public basic services and for connected purposes.
Okay, on the Care and Protection of Child Parents Bill, Senate Bills number 29 of 2023, the results are as follows. Ayes 30, nays 0, abstention 0. The ayes have it.
The Care and Protection of Child Parents Bill 2023, second reading, a bill for an act of Parliament to provide a framework for the care and protection of child parents within the counties, to provide a framework through which an expectant girl child or a child parent may actualize their right to basic education and at the same time ensure the care of their children and for connected purposes.
On the Coffee Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2023, here are the results of the division. Ayes 30 votes, nays 0, abstention 0. The ayes have it.
The Coffee Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2023, second reading, a bill for an act of Parliament to provide for the establishment of the Coffee Board of Kenya and the Coffee Research Institute, to provide for the role of the national and county governments, provide for the regulation, development and promotion of the coffee industry and for connected purposes.
On the Prevention of Livestock and Produce Theft Bill, Senate Bills number 12 of 2023, the results of the division are as follows. Ayes 30, nays 0, abstention 0. The ayes have it.
The Prevention of Livestock and Produce Theft Bill, Senate Bills number 12 of 2023, second reading, a bill for an act of parliament to provide for a legal framework for the identification of livestock, the movement of livestock, the prevention of livestock theft, the regulation of trade in livestock, the return of illegally acquired livestock and firearms, and for connected purposes.
And lastly, on the Food and Feed Safety Control Bill, National Assembly Bills number 21 of 2023, the results of the division are as follows. Ayes 30 votes, nays 0, abstention 0. The ayes have it.
The Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bills number 21 of 2023, second reading, a bill for an act of parliament to provide for the coordination of the public institutions in the control of food and feed safety, to establish the office of the Food Safety Controller, to provide for the role of the county governments in food and feed safety, and for connected purposes.
Thank you, Honourable Senators. Now I direct the Sergeant at Arms to withdraw the bar and open the doors. Now, the next session is a committee of the whole, so we still need your numbers. Kindly, Honourable Senators, let us conclude this business today. So, Honourable, just Clerk. Clerk, kindly proceed to call the next order, please.
Order number 14, Committee of the Whole, the County Licensing Uniform Procedure Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2022. Order number 15, Committee of the Whole, the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Services Bill, Senate Bills number 12 of 2022. Order number 16, Committee of the Whole, the Mung Beans Bill, Senate Bills number 13 of 2022. Order number 17, Committee of the Whole, the Startup Bill, Senate Bills number 14 of 2022. Order number 18, Committee of the Whole, the Persons with Disabilities Bill, Senate Bills number 7 of 2023. Order number 19, Committee of the Whole, the Kenyan Sign Language Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2023.